Good to see everybody here. Looks like we're gonna have quite a few people on tonight.
We just finished the meeting. It was awesome.
Oh, was it great?
It was great. I missed it.
You'll have to fill me in. So let's see. I'm not normally when we do the Hot Shots group, we don't record this per se, but for this particular meeting tonight, I'm going to record this because I really feel like we're going to cover some really good stuff and probably get some amazing input from some great restoration companies that are on here with us tonight. And I wanted to be able to share this if we needed to, because I think that obviously we did this kind of last minute. It was sort of a sudden thing, which obviously we're all in these very unique times right now where everything's like moving, right? We got things changing like almost hourly at this point with the current situation. So I knew there would be people that weren't going to be able to just jump on last minute like this, which is a couple hour notice. And so I do think we're going to be sharing some really great information, and again, getting great information from some awesome restorers that are on here. We got Scott Peterson that's here with us, Matthew Sharp with Dry Kings, who is an awesome hot shot in the group. Chris Jetter, very nice to see you, Chris. Wonderful to have you here. We got Michael Neal, Eric Fennell is going to be on, and a few others all across the country. I think hopefully Clark Brown will be on here with us tonight with the AIR Alliance of Independent Restorers group that I am a part of, and I definitely think these guys are doing some great stuff. They just had their annual summit in the middle of all of this going on. So recording this I think will be really valuable so that we can be able to share this information for those that couldn't make it on live with us tonight. So that being said, I'm going to jump right in. Kevin and Scott and I were talking earlier today on a conference call, and it's what kind of spurred this meeting, this training call for tonight, that we just felt like would be a huge service to everybody in the industry for us to be able to gather together right now, to bounce ideas off of each other, and to be supportive of each other in what can only be said as unprecedented times. I mean, obviously this is stuff that most of us in our lifetime anyway have not experienced, this kind of level of situation and circumstance. I mean, a lot of us on here have done restoration for a while. I know Chris Jetter, you've I'm sure done many cat losses. I know Kevin and I have done several. So we've been out there on the front lines when a catastrophe, if you will, happen, but this is kind of a whole new realm that none of us have really experienced to this kind of magnitude. You know, even when I look back at one of the first incidents that occurred, or catastrophe losses, if you will, in the industry, when I became a part of it, was Katrina, which was devastating and huge, right? And we all learned a lot from that situation that occurred. However, this is kind of on a different level. This is not just in our country. This is literally worldwide, affecting those and people. And so when Kevin and Scott and I were talking earlier, we were really trying to identify what are some of the major pain points for different people in the industry right now, and things that we're experiencing and needing help with challenges, not only from being able to do the work we do, which is, this is what we do, right? You guys, we train for this. We organize chaos when it happens, and we are trained and know how to respond in these kind of situations. And yet we're also dealing with economic impacts that can go one of a couple ways. You know, it can devastate us as a restoration company. It can put a lot of people out of business. It can also make restoration companies do very well if we play our cards right. So what we really wanted to do with tonight and this call was to line us all up and set us all up, if you will, to be proactive, not reactive. And what I've seen, and I get a lot of emails and text messages, you guys, right now on a daily basis. Normally it's like a weekly basis, I would say, for my Ask Anissa video columns that I do, where people reach out to me and ask for advice and help in circumstances. And I've seen some things that restoration contractors and companies are doing right now that just literally freak me out, to be really blunt and honest, and scare me, not only for the industry as a whole, but for these individual companies. And the fact that they don't realize what they're doing is setting themselves up for some really bad situations. So this call tonight is not about doom and gloom, right? We've got a lot of that going on already, you guys, right now within our world as we know it. What we wanted to do was be able to come on and talk about things that we can do to set ourselves up for success, and navigate what can only be described as completely uncharted territory. So, and part of what spurred this conversation between Kevin and Scott and I tonight was Kevin and I are part of a restoration mastermind group that was actually created because of all of this going on, with incredible, awesome restoration companies throughout the United States as well as Canada. There were some really great things that were shared, and a lot of ideas that came out of that meeting. Our first meeting was last night. We're gonna have another meeting next week. And so we just really wanted to get on here and share that with everybody. All right. Hey, Clark, nice to see you. I see your comment there. Super happy, Clark, that you're here with us. And Ricardo, hello. Thank you very much. Chris, hi, Chris. Great, chat's working. Good to know. All right. So what we're going to do tonight is we want to talk about basically three categories that we really felt was urgent and important to cover. And Scott's going to cover one of them. I'm going to cover one of them. Kevin's going to cover one of them. That we want to do is we want to do some Q&A. We want to definitely get input from all of you all that are here on this call. Again, we've got some really, really awesome restorers on here. And you guys, as an industry, this is the time, if there's ever been one, this is the time as an industry that we need to all come together. And we need to brainstorm and strategize, not react, not panic, but to strategize. And so that was the reason that we called us all together tonight. So thank you all for taking time out of your day. And by the way, I hope everybody is doing well and healthy. As you may know, Kevin and I are, I guess you could say, we're at ground zero. We're in Washington State. I've had a lot of messages and people reaching out wanting to know if we're okay. We're actually, just to give you a little geographic, we're about 2.5, 3 hours south of where ground zero is, which ground zero for this virus, you guys, is King County, Washington. That is where in our state, currently we have 54 deaths. 29 of them have occurred in King County, where this all happened. And it's where the virus actually came in to the United States. Someone who had a family member in that nursing home. It's all, by the way, those 29 deaths in King County are all out of one nursing home. So someone who had visited China and had been back, I want to say it was 7 to 10 days. I don't remember the exact amount of days they'd been back, but they went in and visited a family member there. And they actually brought the virus in. Now, the person that brought the virus in was not symptomatic. They had no symptoms whatsoever, never have. And they brought it in to their family member, and it very quickly spread horrifically through this nursing home. And the nursing home so far has lost 31%, you guys, of their residents. So 29 people, that means they had about 100 residents in that nursing home, and 29 of them have passed. Several more are very, very ill. They are being quarantined in that facility. Everyone in that facility is actually being quarantined, regardless of whether they tested positive or not. And there are several in ICU right now, but they are holding their own. So we are praying for them for sure. So Kevin and I are pretty close to that, which is, has been a little interesting for us. We're in Pacific County. We're in the southernmost county of Washington State, and a small county. We only have 20,000 people in our county, and we're here on the beach. And so self-quarantining for us has not been bad. we're here on a sunny beach, so that's been kind of good. But the community that we live in, you guys, 80% of our population is over the age of 70. So there has been extreme panic in our area. We do have all kinds of resources. We have food, water, gasoline. There's been no closures other than like, non-essential businesses like restaurants, bars, that sort of thing. They're doing takeout only. Our children, all 4 of our kids and our 5 grandkids live in the same state. They are about 400 miles away from us. And we actually just left them 2 weeks ago in the middle of all this before this got so bad, but we're not feeling like we have to run back over to the east side of the state. That's where our children are. They're on the east side of the state, so they're about 400 miles away from the epicenter. And so far, there's been 3 confirmed cases in Spokane County where our children and grandchildren live, but everybody's healthy and doing well. And those 3 cases are not in the hospital, okay? They're being treated at home. And so far, there have been no deaths in the Spokane County area. So we're very relieved for that. So hopefully you guys are all doing well, and in your areas. Hopefully you've not been, affected quite like our state has. I think currently we have 1,097 confirmed cases in our state. So anybody that's on the call that's in Washington State and actively doing restoration, this is kind of a really tough time, boy, to be in this state, in this industry, because there's just a lot of legalities and things that we got to be careful of. So I'm going to cover that part of this tonight, where I've been doing and have done a ton of research through the CDC, the FTC, watching President Trump's live feeds every morning for the coronavirus task force. And I've just got some good and yet a little bit scary information based upon what I've seen some restoration companies doing out there in their marketing that the FTC is really cracking down on. So I'm going to share that with you guys tonight. So Scott is going to cover one of the section here that we want to talk about is company culture and helping your communities and establishing yourself as an expert without creating excessive liability for yourself in the industry. Scott's going to go over that. Scott is actually in Southern California. He's about 3 hours away from us. He has an incredible company, Home Perfect SoCal, that he has, and he'll share this with you, but I don't know exactly how many employees Scott has, but I know he has quite a few. He's going to talk about what he's been doing within his company and within his marketing and how he's establishing himself to help his community. And Kevin is going to go over kind of the strategic versus tactics topic, which we named this call for tonight. Kevin, I want you to kind of start out and just tell everybody, I want to talk a little bit about the strategies versus tactic, and kind of have that conversation with everybody on here that you had with Scott and I earlier today.
What we need to do here is, and what we want to do is give you some perspective. So the 3 of us are going to give you some really interesting perspectives on some different possibilities to consider. And so what I'm going to talk about is that, we all kind of got punched in the face just now, the whole damn country. And so it knocked a bunch of people on their butt and they're not sure what to do. And we're a little confused and unfortunately, a lot of companies operate from more of a tactical approach to business versus a strategic approach to business. And so I want to lend some perspective on that. So our strategic approach is the planning and the overall kind of the 30,000 foot view of our operation. Tactical approach is what we do when we go out and roll out that plan. And so just to kind of give a little bit of perspective on the 2 different processes. So what we need to do is remember this, as cleaners and restorers, this is our game. This is what we do every day. We are dealing with, sort of emergent situations on a smaller scale than this, but we deal with biologicals, we deal with hazardous materials, we deal with VOCs, and so we're always dealing with the nasties. And so we're already prepared and trained. We already have PPE. We already have protocols in place. We already practice this on a daily basis. So we got to remember that now. So it's business as usual in that respect. What we need to think about is our messaging. We want to change our messaging a little bit from a strategic standpoint of making sure that we're very clear to our community, to our marketplace, to our client base, that this is what we do on a daily situation. And so we're a pig in mud in this, right? So we want to make sure people get that, because what we want to do is rather than being reactive, like a lot of people are right now, we want to be proactive. We want to be responding and have that clarity, so they understand where we're coming from, that this is our expertise, this is our field, and that we can cover this, and we already do this on a daily basis. So we make sure our messaging is clear to our client base, if you will. And I think if we do that, and and Scott was talking a little bit earlier when we were chatting prior to this, that even some of his that worked for him had some concerns, and he reminded them, hey, this is what we do. You're already out there dealing with sewage, you're already out there dealing with biologicals, molds, VOCs, and fires. I mean, this is our stuff. So that really nothing, business as usual in that respect. But what we want to do is be the company that is the rally point for our community. They're confident in us, and we have to be leaders in what we know how to do best. And so that's what our messaging needs to reflect, is to get out there and let people know that we're here and we can do this. And clearly our industry is not going to stop. We're going to have floods and fires and various other coming out, and they're still going to have to be dealt with. And we're already at a much higher level of than a lot of companies in other industries. And so they're the ones that are being the adopters right now. They're the ones that are having to learn and be us. We're the educators. And so we need to make sure that we're clear about that in our messaging, because they need somebody to lean toward and look for as the experts. And so that's who we are. And so we just need to be, this is our time to shine. And there's a people, from a tactical perspective, they're thinking, how do I make money? I need to keep making money. I got bills, I got overhead, I got, payroll, I got all this. That's not going to change. You're already you're going to continue with business. Maybe some of your services are going to slow down a little bit temporarily. For instance, perhaps carpet cleaning. Your commercial accounts and some of your accounts that are shutting down for business, and Scott will touch on this a little more, is now when we can get in there easily without having to work around business and the scheduling. So this is a great time to get things ready for the reopening of a lot of these businesses that are temporarily shut down. So those are opportunities, again, to get your messaging out there and be clear about being the choice. And so, old adage is the best time to plan is 20 years ago, but the next best time is today. And so if we weren't already for the emergent event, then we need to get ready now, and we need to start changing our messaging and the fears. And so we need to address those fears with our clients up front, and we need to make sure they understand that we're able to handle the situations appropriately and be able to do what we do. So it's really important that we are the experts in our industry and in what we do for our communities. We'd like to say that, we could be ready, kind of a calm before the storm, but we're in the storm. So now we need to be the rally point for everybody to come to, capable and confident in what we do, and that'll make them confident in us as well. So there's a short-term advantage to this, that we get that messaging out there, that education, and address those fears, because for people to do business with us, which is always the case, we need to take out the fears. And so we need to address the fears. Now the fears are changing a little bit because of the emergent event we're in. So we have to change our messaging, match that. But in an overall scenario, from a marketing and strategic standpoint, we're always addressing those fears of doing business and having enough information to make an informed decision. So that is what we need to do. Now, this is not a, cut and dried situation. You need to sit down and hopefully you're taking notes about this right now, but you're going to need to sit down and consider and maybe have some meetings with key people in your organization, how you want to present that messaging and how you want, what channels you want to use to roll that messaging out. And I think it's important to spend a little bit of time considering this. And I'm involved in a number of other industries, and I've got my finger on their pulse, and I'm watching the messaging changing throughout a wide variety of industries right now. And again, they're addressing the elephant in the room. You got to do that. That's the concern of the day. And so you need to create the messaging to overcome the concerns so that people will continue to want to do business or want to do business with you or refer you as the business of choice under the circumstances. And so I think that's what's really necessary. And so Scott has been doing a really good job of that. I think he should probably pipe in at this point and talk about what he's doing to talk with his own staff as well as his community and his client base and how he's created some different messaging to address that.
Thanks, Kevin. Hey guys, so we have 31 employees for our company, and I had my aha moment yesterday because my mentality was just moving forward through this and continuing to market and not let up. But I had a couple employees that were going to other employees that were scared because they're watching the news, which is 100% negative. They have family members that are in other positions getting sent home from work with no pay. And one of my guys came up to me, one of my upper management guys, and said, my wife's freaking out and wants to know, what is my plan if you send us all home and we can't work if there's a shutdown? So that was the first time that it really hit me that I'm doing a good job of getting information out to my community and a terrible job of relaying that information to my employees. So immediately I sat down and I wrote out, it's hard to get everybody together in a room with this whole social distancing and guys already being so busy and being in different job sites. So I wrote out a text that I sent to all my upper management teams that they could send to everybody under them, that just came from me, that was really just talking about how important of a role they all play in this company. The fact that we're pretty much a second responder, I would say, to help people, and we're not getting shut down. We're not going anywhere. That their role in our company is to provide a safe environment for our clientele, whether it's commercial or residential. We reminding them that we have patients that are going through cancer treatments and coming home and need to come home to a sanitized environment, reminding them that we do 50 water losses a month, and that's not going to change, and fire losses aren't going to change, and that we may be getting tight preparing for a recession or getting smarter with finances, but that's not tightening up and getting rid of labor and getting rid of marketing. Our plan is to grow. I think we're hitting a recession. I think companies are going to tighten the reins, and they may lay people off, and they may cut down on marketing. And my viewpoint is the complete opposite. We're actually looking to hire 2 business development reps right now. We've set those interviews up. We're looking for new lead techs because we know what's going to come out of this. We know what the outcome's going to be. We know we already have the calls coming in of people that are planning this cleaning of their facility, from college universities to dealerships to medical offices, and they're kind of waiting it out a little bit. So we're planning for that. And I see the value in our company. I see the value in our employees, and I just need to get that out to them, which I think is important, that we all understand that, and we all take the time to share our vision with our employees, especially right now. That really motivated everybody, and they kind of get that charge in them again, understanding that what we do is a big deal. Like Kevin said, we're prepared for a lot of this. Now, we make it very clear if anybody's uncomfortable working in this environment, they can gladly, they could talk to a supervisor. We can talk about it. And if they need to take some time off of work, they need to take some time off of work. But the reality is, if we go into terrible situations all the time, we're working around asbestos and lead and sewage and mold, and we have PPE and we have protocols for that. So, that's the good thing for employees. The second deal is we've been very consistent in our message to the community. So really just trying to be a resource, not hitting them with scare tactics of hire me, hire me, hire me, but shoot informational videos of some of the EPA registered products for sanitizing and disinfecting that they can buy. Like, what do you recommend as the professional for them? And then how can they use it? Because we've had businesses call us that have 50,000, 100,000 square feet, and they want us to come in and clean and sanitize, but they're not closing their doors. So we've had to have conversations with them of like, yeah, we can do that, but it may be better for you to employ a couple more janitorial staff and let us come in and educate them on how they can clean on a regular basis. So yeah, maybe we get you to a great starting point. Maybe we take care of the harder stuff that you guys aren't capable of doing, but let us take the opportunity to teach you guys so you're not just blowing $50,000 or $100,000 cleaning your facility, and the next day people are coming in and you're recontaminated. So we're trying to really push that education, which is helping create those relationships and that trust factor, which is where we already know, which is why we already know. I can't talk ever. That work is coming down the pipeline because we're staying in touch with them. They're calling us when they have questions. So again, if anybody wants to go on our Facebook page, it was a quick little video that was like, hey, here's some solutions that you can use, and then here's what's important to know about it. You don't just spray down a surface and wipe it and it's done. There's dwell times. What are you trying to attack? How are you going to properly clean that? So getting information out, again, not using scare tactics, but being helpful, dropping off respirators to your local urgent cares. We had an urgent care reach out to us, and they were completely out of mass, and they're like, can you guys spare any? So getting that to them and then helping them get the message out to let other businesses know that that's what they're looking for, and then staying in touch with them to say, is there anything else that you guys need? What else do you need help with beyond masks? Is it gloves? Is it anything else that we can spare? You're going to Walmart or Home Depot. Well, we have another resource. We have our suppliers that we can hook you up with and try to just be another avenue for you. So that's the direction that we're going. Our plan is to capitalize on all the work that's going to be out there from the other businesses that are tightening the reins down, and they don't want to get information out there, and they're scared, and they don't want to invest in their company. They want to lay off people. People are going to need help when this thing all comes to an end, and we're going to be staffed up, geared up. Our inventory is going to be stocked, and we're going to be ready to go.
So I just want to say something to that, you guys. Scott does an amazing job with educating his community, educating his clientele and his staff. And he does an amazing job with putting himself out there, and he's already established himself as the expert. So I know, Scott, that your carpet cleaning has dropped like significantly, radically, but I've got no doubt, Scott, you're going to do amazing through this. In fact, you're probably going to see a surge, I'm going to guess, in your income because of this, but it's because of the groundwork that you've laid. So that was the big impetus for us doing this call tonight, you guys, was talking about how important it is to have strategy, and laying that groundwork and establishing yourself as an expert in your industry. And that's hard to talk about. Like right now, you guys might be going, look, Anissa, that's all great. Like I hear you, but I'm dying right now. Like my income just, went down the tank. My carpet cleaning stopped, or people are canceling cleanings because they're freaked out and scared. That is the time to ramp up, not pull back. Okay. and yes, I understand that's hard. It's hard if money's not coming in and things are getting tight and tough, but this is about a long game. And I think this is important. Well, I guess if you're really in that difficult financial situation, this might be an important lesson in this industry. The restoration industry is all about the long game. It's all about making sure that you are set up to be able to support your community when a time of crisis happens. I don't care whether you're doing a tornado, whether you're doing, Hurricane Michael hits the coast, or Katrina, or Irene, or obviously now COVID-19. We need to be doing the groundwork, laying out the plan, which is the whole purpose of this call, strategy, right? Strategizing, being proactive, not reactive, so that we're setting ourselves up to be the go-to company in our marketplace, so that not only are we not worried about economic and financial concerns, but we're actually positioning ourselves for not just economic success, but positioning ourselves as the expert in our industry. I want to share. So one of the parts here that I want to cover, and then we want to open this up to you guys. Like, I want you guys to feel free to unmute yourself, have conversation and share. I've been watching the whole chat. You, Chris, I definitely want you to unmute yourself. I want to talk to you in a couple of minutes, okay? Because I know Chris is amazing. Chris Jetter, if you don't all know him in our industry, you need to get to know him. He is a wonderful resource and restoration person for us all. And I know you've got a lot of great stuff to share. But what I want to share with you guys right now is one of the things that I actually just did this week's Ask Anissa column on this, as I have gotten a ton of emails, text messages, and phone calls from people in the industry going, "Hey, Anissa, what do you think about this whole virus thing going on? Like, well, how do we market this? How do we take advantage of this? How do we, blah, blah, blah." And first off, I want to say that, when people use the term "take advantage of this" in the industry, that sounds like a really bad thing, right? Like, so here people are all struggling and suffering, and we're having this pandemic situation. And when you use the term, "how do I take advantage of this?" People take that really negative, and I don't. When I hear people say, "how do I take advantage of the situation?" or "how do I capitalize on this?" Probably, the majority of people in this industry I know are amazing and incredible, and they want to help their communities and support them. So when I hear that, I don't take that as a negative thing. What I take that as is, what would be a better way to say that, in my opinion, is, how do I help more people? How do I get my services out there? And how do I get my company out there to be known as the go-to person so I can help more people? That's how I equate that. What I saw this week's Ask Anissa that I did was about, what not to do in this kind of situations. What I want to cover real quick, and then I want to open things up. And I definitely, Chris, hope that you will be happy with me unmuting you, because I really want to talk to you. But I did a bunch of research on what's going on out there in the restoration industry and the industry as a whole, talking about COVID-19 and coronavirus, and how, our company can help you, make you immune, disinfect, eradicate, these kind of terms. And in my research, I pulled up some information from the FTC. The FTC has gotten very involved in marketing, you guys, about this. And I want all of you as restoration contractors to be aware of this. So the FTC has sent warning letters, which is a big deal, to 7 different companies that are in the US as well as Canada. And what they said to these companies was, it was a cease and desist letter, okay? And the FTC is being very proactive about stopping what they're calling scams, if you will, in marketing against this virus and taking advantage of people. And one of the things that these 7 different companies, there were 6 of them were US, one was a Canadian company. And what they said was that you could not make a claim that you could eradicate or prevent this virus. And when they send you a letter like this, you have 48 hours to respond, 48 hours to stop the marketing, change whatever you have on your website, your social media, delete it, completely change it, or you were in violation. And this could result in criminal charges, you guys. It could result in them shutting down your website. It could mean them shutting down your business. It's a really big deal. And what I saw when I went and saw all this on the FTC, I then went into my Instagram, and I went on Facebook and some of my social media, and I saw claims from restoration companies. And I actually screenshotted them. I'm not going to name any companies here, but I want to share these with you guys because I think this is very, very important for us to understand as a restoration company. This one company on Instagram that has a lot of followings, and this is a big, company. Like I said, I'm not going to mention any names, but they showed fogging with over children's toys. And they said, big thanks to blank, it was a church that had them do this work, for allowing us to sterilize and protect their facility as a preventative measure against coronavirus. You guys, that is in direct violation of the FTC Act and protocols. You cannot say that as a restoration company. You can't say that. Another one that I got this was actually a supplier in the industry who supplies chemicals or solutions. And it said, blank is an EPA registered disinfectant, sanitizer and cleaner designed for use on various surfaces subject to microbial contamination, preventative, effective against coronavirus. Now, I know on the back of a Lysol can right now, you guys, you can see it says something, and I don't have the exact words. I don't want to, this is being recorded, so I don't want to say it incorrectly, but that it prevents or can stop the spread of coronavirus. I don't remember what Lysol says, but COVID-19 is a strain of that. So if you're going to market and say your solution or your company can clean and or prevent coronavirus, you are opening yourself up big time. Because when you say coronavirus, people think it's all of it. They think COVID-19. And some of these companies actually did really good in their marketing. They said that they could go in and sanitize, which is what I would recommend people saying, not disinfect, but apply a sanitizing agent. They did everything great in their marketing, but they hashtagged it COVID-19. So can you imagine if an attorney gets a hold of that, you guys, because I don't know, you like cleaned a facility and then someone came in later and contracted this virus and God forbid dies from it, you could just get in a lot of trouble. If you have social media or your website where you are saying that you can take preventative measures for COVID-19 or coronavirus, you need to take that down. Now, right now, when we're doing this call, this is Thursday, the 19th of March. So I get everything's fluid and very changing in this right now. But as of right now, if you are doing marketing, advertising like that, you're setting yourself up big time. And I would highly recommend that you take that down. And if you're gonna do this work, by all means, please make sure that you have your disclosures, your authorization forms, and set up by a attorney who not only knows the restoration industry, but knows your state laws. That's the other thing, you guys. We have all 50 states affected right now in the US by this. And each state, President Trump has been very big on making sure that each state is determining and governing their own entity. So each state has different laws, which we face, you guys, all the time in restoration, right? If you're in Florida or you're in Washington or you're in Indiana, we have different laws potentially by state when it comes to mold, asbestos, and all those kind of claims. So please, please, I'm begging you as a restoration company, make sure that you have the correct forms in place for your clients to sign. Be sure that you have consulted an attorney in your state that is familiar with the restoration industry, and that you are not making claims that are going to go against FTC regulations and standards. So they also put out a big announcement today on the FTC website, which you're all welcome to go to. Please do your own research. Do not just take my word for this. They are scrutinizing any marketing or advertising that is making any and all claims in regards to COVID-19 or coronavirus. So I really want you guys to protect yourself. This is a time for us as an industry and as a whole to shine and be there for our communities and to be able to serve those that need us the most. But whatever you do, please do not put your company at risk. It's not worth it at all. It's not worth it. So anyway, all right. Well, that was my big, huge thing in all of this. I was really stressed out when I saw all of these claims when I read the FTC's website. And then I started, doing some research on social media and especially Instagram. And I'm talking big players, you guys. There are companies, small and large, that are making claims that they can prevent, that they can disinfect, which nobody can say that right now. To disinfect, and I'm really sorry, I don't have my sheet in front of me, but if I remember the definition of disinfect means that you can kill a microorganism. We cannot say that about COVID-19 right now. So just be careful, you guys. This is an opportunity for all of us in the industry to shine. And it's also an opportunity for us to lose our business and go bankrupt. So anyway, I really, really, really don't want to put anybody on the spot here, but Chris, if you're at all willing to have some conversation here, I would so love to talk with you right now. Let me see. I'm trying to see. Are you on?
Yeah, I just unmuted myself.
Awesome. Hey, Chris. Nice to see you.
Hold on a second. I'm reporting an ad that I just saw.
So to doing this tonight, like, this was not wanting to create any more fear or hysteria by any means. And Chris, any of you on the call, if you know me, you know I'm not about that. I'm about education, but it just really freaked me out when I saw a lot of this going on in the last 48 hours with restoration companies. And Chris, I'd love to get your take. And, there are people that are here on the call that don't, well, I'd be surprised, but may not know you or who you are. Like, maybe give us a quick, hey, who are you? And where are you from, Chris?
Well, I'm from Abilene, Texas. Been in the industry about 20 years. Yeah. I've worked a bunch of large losses, residential. I've been with franchises, independents. So I've been around the block and bought my first existing company about 7 years ago. So definitely been around, and man, I love what I do. Mm-hmm. And yeah, you're exactly right. What we're talking about tonight, that you can be the expert in our field without just jumping in and trying to figure it out. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm educating my customers. They're all day long, we're getting calls. Hey, can you come and perform all this cleaning for us? And we're scared. And I'm like, my first question is, do you have a confirmed exposure? And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, why would you want to spend all this money on stuff we don't really know a lot about yet? why don't you have your janitorial company? So I don't do janitorial, and teaching my guys to do a janitorial clean sometimes and then a restoration clean another time is something I just chose not to perform in my company. And so I'm like, just have your janitorial company come in and clean more often until you know you have an exposure. Then when you have an exposure, well, that's the time to find out and do the research to make sure you're calling the right company, not just going off an ad you see somewhere. Because I made a comment earlier, this is a SARS virus, and COV1, they fully eradicated that in 2 years. And so that's another reason why not to jump in. And I mean, we got some great products out there that this is an envelope virus. It may work really well, but we don't know. The only research we have is this stuff can last outside the body from 2 hours to 3 days on plastic and stainless. Well, I mean, that's all we know. And that's only because we've only been able to do limited research. There may be areas where this can last for, 8 or 9 days. We just don't know. So don't make heavy investments, but educate your customers by educating yourself, and then taking this opportunity to go to trainings so that you can be more prepared if this thing really does blow up.
Right. So training right now, Chris, training is the most important thing I feel like you can do right now, right? Like educating yourself so you can educate your community and your clients.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, there's not going to be a lot of opportunities for specialized training in this, but there are a few out there that do it. And I don't want to just throw stuff out here, but at a minimum, how many people have not been to an AMRT class with David Hodge or some of the great educators that we have that are going to stress the safety of this? Because all it takes is one person to break protocol and your whole team gets infected. And now you're shut down. Not to mention, think about the workman's comp that you're going to have to pay.
And this is this not a great time to really make sure you understand and comprehend why and the best practices for containment? Like,
oh yeah,
and you guys, we face this all the time, right? Like I do fire restoration. I get the validity of containment and exposure. I mean, all of that. But this is, if you're even remotely unsure, Chris, that's a great recommendation. I get this is not mold, but AMRT, yeah. If you're going to think you're going to get into an infectious situation like this, no, go do AMRT. Know how to do proper containment. Understand fire safety and VOCs and what you're dealing with there. That's huge stuff. So, Chris, what can you share with us? And I don't mean to put you on the spot. So, but like, what are you doing in your local community or area to educate your clients about what they should or shouldn't be doing? Like, are you doing anything on social media or YouTube or Facebook?
No, the only thing that I've really put out, because of the mass amount of calls we're getting, is just, hey, unless you've had an exposure, we have chosen not to respond to those, but we have a site that you can go to get some more information for your janitorial company to clean a little bit better, or maybe hit areas they're not hitting yet. And these come from recommendations from the CDC. And here's the link that you can go to verify that.
Right.
And so I'm basically saying, hey, here's a document that the CDC recommends that you hit on a regular basis. Now, as a business owner, they have to make that call because we don't want to assume the liability. This is unfortunately going to be every individual university or hospital or business's call on how often they want to clean. Because as soon as it's clean, someone can come right behind them who may be infected and grab a door handle. That's a stainless steel door handle. And everyone that touches that for maybe up to 3 days could potentially be infected.
Right. So, yeah, it's crazy. One of the things that's so, I don't know, I guess unique to me. I mean, I've been in this industry about 20 years, same time you have, Chris, is that this is like uncharted territory, you guys. This is just not something we've dealt with before. And there are so many things that are still going to come out, I'm sure, in the wash. And as things progress, that we're going to, you know, we didn't know.
Yeah.
And yeah, right. Like, so being able to make sure that we're staying level-headed about this is huge. And it just really concerned me when I got so many emails, which I said, like, really spurred my Ask Anissa this week, because people were like, how do I do this? How do I get into this? And I'm like, whoa, wow. So you're asking these questions way too late, number one. Um, like, you know, you need to do a lot of training. So if you're asking me those questions, that tells me, don't get involved in this. Don't be doing this right now. Use this as an opportunity to learn and set yourself up for success. If this happens again, you guys, look, chances are this will happen again. Like, number one, this isn't the first time we have faced this kind of situation to this magnitude. Yes, but we've had swine flu. There was the whole anthrax, Ebola, you know, H1N1. Like, there's been other situations that occur, not to this magnitude, for sure, you guys. I don't want to downplay this, but this is a great opportunity for you to understand that you, like, we need to set ourselves up. As Kevin and I did a program a year or so ago called The Calm Before the Storm. And it's what we did to teach people about preparing to respond to cat loss situations. And what that means is, maybe you're not prepared to respond this time, guys. Maybe this cat loss is not something you're prepared to respond for, but here we want to show you what you need to do to set yourself up to respond in the future.
Yeah, and I just want to put this out here because a good friend of mine said it better than any way I've ever heard it. He was talking to a gentleman that works for the CDC and WHO, and believe it or not, these guys train day in, day out for things that our industry comes in contact with daily. And here they are preparing every day in case they ever have the opportunity to come in contact with some of the stuff that we come in contact with unknowingly. And so, I mean, our industry really, really lacks a lot of good education. And I mean, we have some great educators, don't get me wrong. Finding those guys and really lobbying for them and building them up so they can be the ones. And we need to start looking for some new ones, because some of them are getting a little old to ready to retire. But
I hope you're not talking about me, Chris.
oh no, not at all. No, I'm not gonna.
I meant in the old ones. I don't want you talking about me in the old ones.
Yeah.
Talking about Kevin.
Yeah. No,
But,
I totally agree with
This
you,
might
Chris.
be the thing. This might be the thing that makes our industry a little bit better. This
Right.
might be the thing that drives people to go and get educated, who should have been educated long before this ever happened,
I
right?
agree.
Like, you're talking about AMRT and all that. Like, the education should have always been there when you're out doing this work, because regardless of this virus, everything else that these guys are dealing with mold,
Yeah.
with potential asbestos, it all
common
could be
sewage
life
stuff.
changing. Right. Exactly.
So, Clark, I want you, can you, Clark, you posted over in the chat, you had a question. So I wanted you to unmute yourself. Did you have a question you wanted to ask to the group, or?
Yeah, it was at the moment you were talking, we were talking about the contractors that you witness. We're all witnessing the same ads and the same, whether it's social media, whether it's on TV. I think I know who you're talking about, was running a really large one.
Right.
And I'm, you know, I listen, I'm kind of known to be the brazen one, but I feel a responsibility to call these people. I called this big large company, and he said, and I'll text you and ask you who it is. But
Okay.
I always ask the question first: do they know better, or are they just money grabbing? And I have often, really, really large companies usually know. But if you're calling a sub $5 million a year company, probably don't have some of the acronyms like Chris just mentioned and Scott, the AMRT. I think trauma falls into this category. Some of the
Absolutely.
protocols you follow in trauma. So I will, asbestos, I mean, things that are controlled environments that take a little more specialty. And I think water damage is specialty as well, but that's not equal to what we're dealing with here. And the claims are huge. And listen, attorneys are not chasing down category 1 water damage jobs, but everyone here that watches the news in the morning between 8 and noon, all the attorneys that are chasing down asbestos and mesothelioma cases, they will come out of the woodwork looking for these cases as soon as this starts to do things. And they will track everyone down. They will ask questions that I'm afraid some people won't have the answers for. And I really disagree with everything. I don't not disagree, just agree. I agree with what you all have said tonight. I'm a little bothered that it takes something like this for this industry to come together. I watched the RIA and ICRC today. I heard Brandon Burton say something that really stuck. I talked to Mark after that call, Springer. Brandon Burton said it usually takes years or months to put things together in that environment, but with collaboration and unity, they came together in days with the brightest minds our industry has. We know several of those people. They were Norris, Gearhart, and Rachel, and several people who none of us know because they're not on Facebook or Instagram, came together day and night, gave up their, besides being fearful for their own families, and put together some documents that start to form some clarity on this. And there's just never a better time for this industry. Like Scott just said, this is when leaders step in.
Yep.
And I have seen a lot of that, and I just hate to lose it. I hate that a month after we quote unquote feel like it's okay, it returns to business as normal. And it takes everyone on this call and people that weren't even here to step in and just demand that not happen and lead the way. Again, Chris and Scott and you all pointed out what that specialized training looks like. You know how many people didn't know any of that before they watched this call?
Right.
The EMRT. They don't know what ICRA is or ABRA or things like that. And should you go out and get your whole team certified with everything? Probably not after this. But you start to put pieces together and say, you know what, I made a video a little earlier that I'm going to be releasing in a day or two. This has showed a lot of people how unprepared they really were. And in the face of that, I think this is when the right people step up and drop their egos and say, yeah, we were caught off guard with this. And that's my hope that what comes away from this. I'm hoping that a lot of people will sit back and support, like you said, Anissa. I think sometimes you've got to be a cheerleader and not a player on the field. And I'm hoping some people take that stance and let the professionals do it and support those professionals. Like Scott, take your mask. If you know you're not going to use all of those, take it to people who need it. And that's going to give far bigger returns than going out and spraying some magic juice on a job or something like that. So I really don't have much more to add. I'm just really.
No, I'm super glad you said all that you just said. You are so right. This is an opportunity for every one of us in this industry, you guys, to see things change the way they need to. This is a chance for us to come out and show this, for this industry to shine, to be the heroes that is what we are, you guys. We are trained for this stuff. But again, the operative word being trained. So this is a chance for us to see the bar in our industry go like this. Like, we're here, which, we all kind of hold that up there, but as we know, there are those that don't. Well, now this is where this bar needs to be. And this is a great opportunity for this industry to show not only our communities and those that we serve, but the insurance industry and everyone else that we are professionals. And Clark's right. Maybe we need to stop and admit, okay, you know what? We got punched in the face, like Kevin said. And maybe there are those of us that are watching this video, this recording right now going, yeah, man, I don't even know what AMRT is. I don't even know what, Chris is talking about when he's talking about containment. Okay, then go out and educate yourself and get things brought up to where they need to be. And all of us on this call, I know there's some amazing people on this call right here tonight. We need to make sure that we hold everybody to that standard. And that can transform this industry so that if anything like this ever happens again, which, you know, I'd like to think it won't. Okay. I'd like to think that we're all safe from anything like this happening again, but I'm also not going to be naive, and we're in a changing world. So this could happen again. And next time this happens, we're going to have that many more people that are trained and certified and know how to go out and help people in our communities get through this faster and with hope. You know what, Clark, thank you so much for supporting it. You know, you guys, I've heard the president say this earlier today, which, by the way, I'd recommend every one of you be on his call. Every morning he does a briefing for the COVID-19 task force, and you get direct information straight from him, and the CDC guy is on there all the time, and Dr. Burke, who's amazing. She is incredible. So I'd recommend all of you as restorers following that. Yes. To be following the FTC website, to be following the CDC website, so that you are not getting rumors and, you know, to be really blunt, crap off of social media or hearsay. You're getting it right from the horse's mouth. And, you know, what Clark said, that's really, really awesome. You know, the president this morning said something kind of similar. Funny, Clark, that you said it like that. But he said that he was very impressed and he was very encouraged by Americans pulling together. So you guys, like, think about that. What about us as restoration contractors pulling together? What about us as restoration contractors right now in this situation, not caring about what group we're in, not caring about who trained us, like just caring about making sure that we're helping each other and that we are getting out there the right information that we need to help each other. Because really, in all of this, you know, you can talk about the National Guard, you can talk about all of this stuff. In my opinion, the people that are going to help in this crisis the most are us, all of us here that are on this call, and all of us in this industry. The restoration industry is really the hope for people right now. And so that's a really cool thing for y'all to think about. And it's why we pulled the call together tonight.
Hey, Anissa, I have one more thing. And this is, I heard this talked about earlier this week, and Chris and I were talking about this at dinner. Most of us here, right around our middle age, we're not all as young as Scott. He's just a baby.
I know.
Yeah, look, that's my choice, Scott. I know. I can't pull that off.
The top's
really,
not by choice.
In our lifetime or in our generation, we've really only seen a country come together like this for 9/11.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how in an instant, or almost in a span of a day or a few days, people put aside. I went to New York 2 days after 9/11, and I watched races aside, religion aside, Bronx versus Harlem, nothing of that matter. This was one thing. And I don't want to make it gooey, but this is a pivotal moment, an opportunity we have to grab. And this reminds me a lot of 9/11 when I'm seeing a lot of the best of the all-star, the Supermans are coming together for something. Nobody wants the credit. They just want this thing done, because it's going to, economically, this is going to create something that I don't think any of us can probably fathom at this point. I think Scott probably agrees with that, and we all do. I think the trickling effect of this is going to hurt so many, and I'm glad. And again, we have a small piece of it, but this is what we like Kevin said, we trained for this. Right. This is the time where all that hard work and all that energy and all those midnight phone calls, this is where you start paying the rent. So good on y'all for putting this together. Thanks for putting this together.
Absolutely, Clark. And thank all of you. There's so many of you on the call that do so much for the industry, and just know that you're recognized, and we see you, and we appreciate it. And, you know, number one, I want to thank everybody for taking their time out in the middle of all of this going on right now in our country and our communities, and coming together like this. Like, you all inspire me and you encourage me. You know, this isn't easy for anybody to go through. So hopefully tonight, some of you have got some strategy. Hopefully at a minimum, you've got some encouragement to go forward and fight the good fight. And, you know, there's definitely going to be more that we got to do together as a community. And if anything, you are really clear and present to the fact that education is so important in our industry, and for us all to really raise that bar high and come together. This is, you know, Clark said it, President Trump said it this morning. This is about community and about all of us coming together. And in the restoration industry, we have a really freaking awesome, incredible community that if you followed any of my stuff that I do, you know, and you hear me say it all the time on my Ask Anissa videos, I love this industry so much because it is just so full of really cool, incredible, amazing people that are willing to do shit, you guys, that most people aren't. You know, I always compare us to like the ER doctor. You know, most people aren't willing to get elbows deep into somebody's guts if they've been in a car accident. Well, an ER doctor is. Well, guess what? I've seen restoration contractors elbow deep into stuff that most people would never go elbow deep into, and be there for the community and help out. So anyway, I just want to thank everybody for being on here tonight. Scott and Kevin, you are amazing too. You guys are right in on this and came up. Actually, I was two of you that came up with the idea for this tonight. So I want to totally give you guys credit. And thank everybody. I don't know, Scott, Kevin, you guys want to say anything in closing? I definitely have recorded this, you guys. I'm going to download this. I'll make it available to everybody that was here on the call. I've got all your emails because you guys had to register for the call, and or making it available on our Facebook page. But I'll get this to all you guys, and I don't know, maybe you can re-listen to it. It'll help you. Maybe it'll help those in your community or other restoration contractors that you can share it with. And I just pray for everybody's health and safety, and pray that we get through this quickly, as I feel we will.
Perfect. Well said. Yeah, I think there's a lot of good points from Chris and Clark and everybody here. And I think just the biggest thing that you guys can do right now is, if you're not comfortable doing the work, then just be a resource for your community. There's so much that you can do to help out there. Like we talked about, education is key. I think Clark is right about raising awareness. That it is a little bit of our duty if you know things aren't being done right, especially you got people going after medical facilities and things like that where they can do significant damage by not doing things right. You got to raise a red flag. There's no testing that's proven if any of this cleaning is successful. That's why these dirt bags are out advertising things, because there's nobody to catch them on it. So just got to do your due diligence. And again, if you can't do the work, just be the resource. The local urgent cares and hospitals and all those guys are really in this, seeing people daily, and they need help. So just reaching out to them is just going to go a long way for your business as a whole. So that's all I have to say about that. And thank you, Anissa, for putting it together.
Yep. Mom. Hey, thank you, Scott. I know you're moving your family. You got all kinds of stuff going on right now. So yeah, right. Scott's literally packed in boxes, you guys. So I want to unmute Matthew. Matthew, you raise your hand, and hun, I'm sorry, I don't know how to like do anything with that on this, but I'm going to unmute you. Okay, there you go, Matthew. Go ahead. You got a question?
So, is there any liability just doing water damages right now? Like, are we supposed to have a waiver, say you could be exposed to corona by us being in your house, or we can be exposed by you, that we should be getting signed so we can't get sued by a customer saying we infected them later or something? I mean, none of our guys have it, but that I'm aware of, but you never know.
You know what? That is an excellent question, Matthew. Excellent. Anybody? Scott, what are you doing for that?
I wasn't even listening to him because I was responding to Clark. What was the question?
Go ahead, Matthew. Say it again.
Are we supposed to give like a release of liability to customers, just saying they could, us by working in their home during all this outbreak, that, you know, we could have corona, they could have it, they could infect us, we could affect them, that they're aware of that, so they can't sue us and give us permission to work in their home?
You know, I think that's a great question. We're not doing anything with that. So we're not doing any cleanups for this virus right now at all. We're doing more of an education. And then for our business as usual is like our restoration side, and everything that we're doing is under containment. So we're just working in contained areas. But I think it's a good question as far as coming into the personal contact. We're doing what everybody's doing, is social distancing, not shaking hands with customers, being respectful of that. Our carpet cleaning side, if they are in a home, they are actually, they have Benefect Decon 30, and they're hitting door handles and all that on the way out, just trying to take extra precautions. But we haven't even thought of doing any waivers or anything or releases.
Hey guys, I posted a video the other day of Nicole Humber. I don't know if you saw that, from Bravo Restoration, who's a amazing culture. You talk about that.
He is awesome.
And she is awesome. She's girl boss. She's amazing. So I don't know, Matt, if it's going to answer. Matt, you probably know Nicole. She's your neighbor almost in your community.
He knows her.
I don't think it's going to answer your whole question, but they're calling ahead their customer and asking a series of questions. I think the truth is some people don't know if they do or don't have it. If this was a couple of days ago, a lot of people haven't been tested. A lot of people are just presuming that they're doing social distancing. But she was letting the customer know that we're going to approach your home if it's and she was separating out essential and non-essential. Mold remediation, let's let that wait a few weeks. That's not critical in timeline-wise unless you have health issues. But she was approaching, saying that our staff will be wearing masks and gloves regardless of the category of this water. There may not be an imminent threat from the source, but we're going to presume that there's a potential of hazard so that we can respond to this. And I liked her approach. Again, I don't know that a hold harmless would hold up, because the person signing it might not know unless they provide you with a positive result that they do or don't have it. And so it might not hold up in court. You may be signing a piece of paper that you can't even attest to whether you knew or not. But I think it's just it's a call ahead, ask some questions, be transparent, and tell them that if this, how bad is this? I'm going to approach wearing PPE fully. And before, if anybody asks, will it be covered by insurance? Don't even ask that question. Just put your own PPE out there. Don't charge for it, whatever you want to do. But not worried about $40 here and there, right? So I think this is a time to put that aside. But I think you tell your customer, we're just going to protect ourselves in case of what we don't know.
That's great, Clark. And Matthew, that's a super awesome question. Again, none of us on here are attorneys, so we're not gonna try to answer I guess entirely to rely on us for that. But what Clark said is very true. And Scott's going out there and protecting his staff and clients. That'd be an interesting question. I'm going to reach out to Ed Cross and a couple other contacts that I have and see if I can't pull up a little more information to be able to share with everybody on that. Kevin, did you have something on that? No?
They're going to make you sign one when you go through the grocery store too.
I know, right? I know, guys. What, Kev? I'm sorry, Kev. If you're trying to talk, hun, we're not getting you. Yeah, I know, Scott. Right? You can go to the grocery store and do you have to sign a release to be able to walk in there? But the problem is that as remediation professionals, we open ourselves up, right, to a whole lot more liability just because of the fact that we have certifications and all that. So, Matthew, that's an excellent question. I feel like I'm going to go do some more research on that and see what other, the Restoration Mastermind that we're in too with these other companies are pretty big companies, and we're going to be in there in a couple more nights on another topic. I'm going to reach out to them and see what they have to say, what they're doing for that, because that is some definitely good question. And that's the kind of questions that we're trying to spur with this conversation tonight, you guys. We don't want fear. We don't want any of that going on. There's enough of that crap on social media right now. What we just want to do is come together, have strategic conversations, like Kevin said earlier, and just, you know, figure out how can we help our communities the best and have a strategic plan in place so that we don't economically go down the toilet, I guess, for a really crude way of
Can you hear me any better now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. So I was in the grocery store the other day, and in between the person in front of me who had checked out, the checker walked around and wiped down the conveyor and the keypad. I don't know what with, but they were making the comment that they were doing their periodic sanitation. So I guess what I would say in the bigger picture, you're either gonna set this thing out, or you're gonna know that you're gonna do what you can to prevent and minimize exposure when you go into people's homes, whether you're performing, you know, loss services or carpet cleaning or janitorial or whatever. I think I you know, I get there's a lot of fear factor here, and it's based in our not knowing, and so you're gonna have to decide to create the PPE measures that you have, and don't be lackadaisical. We've been around a lot of companies that are not using them on a general basis when they should, let alone in a scenario like this where, you know, it's a little more critical. And so either shut down or know that your best practices are in place, and then you go forward and you be like Clark said, be transparent about, you know, your use of this equipment and why, as a preventative measure, both ways. We always need to advocate for the face of our industry. That's something Anise and I have been promoting for well over a decade now. And I think we need to, you know, just up our game and really be strict about our PPE usage and with our teams. And so where we might gotten a little slack about it because, you know, nobody sees anybody getting sick or whatever, so I'm not putting my mask on today because it's uncomfortable, or I haven't been putting my gloves on like I should have, knock it off. This is not an option. Your health is not worth a buck, okay? And so keep everybody staying on top of those procedures and protocols and reinforce them.
Yeah, PPE is not something you just bill for. You can actually wear it too.
Yeah, right.
I think Michael had a good point on here, or a good comment. It would take multiple weeks for that client to know they're infected. So how could they pinpoint that to you if they take proper precautions? So I think that is good with wearing a respirator or something. If you're going to have a contact or anything extra that you can do, there's no harm in that.
You know what? That's very true, Michael. Excellent thing. So Matthew, that's a good thing. You know, like you said, I mean, how could they prove it was your one company? I mean, my gosh, we can't figure out or prove who got what from who at this point. You know, I want to point something out, you guys. One of the things that really spurred this whole conversation tonight when I talked to Kevin and Scott was I'm researching the FTC and all these claims that I'm hearing these people talking about sterilizing, which you cannot sterilize. You cannot sterilize for COVID-19. And I've seen so many restoration companies make that claim in their marketing. And by the way, one of these companies on Instagram, I'm not kidding you, I screenshotted it, and I'm not going to share it here because I couldn't figure out how to get their company name out of it, and I don't want to, you know, put their company name out there, but although I should, and I'm going to contact them for sure, Clark, in what you said earlier, but they were talking about sterilizing for COVID-19 and how they handle all these tough mold jobs. Guess what? Their Instagram photo was an employee on a mold job, covered, ceiling walls covered in mold, with just a paper mask, not even, like, no respirator, no gloves, and not even safety goggles. I was like, are you joking? It was horrible. And a company like that, marketing that they can sterilize for COVID-19, man, they're really being stupid, in my opinion. And it kind of upset me, to be honest with you, they're even doing that. So anyways, part of what spurred this whole conversation tonight. And on that note, you guys have all been amazing. I'm so encouraged and happy to see some great companies on here tonight with us. This is where we're going to make a difference, you guys, not only in this restoration industry that we all love, but in our communities and in America and in the world. To be honest with you, not to sound like all, but we do. We make a difference in the world, you guys, doing what we do. We make a difference, and we're so important and instrumental to have people who are trained and certified to handle situations like this. So I personally want to thank you all so much for being on the call tonight and for being in this industry and for standing up for the kind of education and strategic planning that we're talking about tonight. So anyway, thank you. We're going to end this. We've been about an hour and a half, and everybody has just totally stayed on with us. That has been awesome. Any of you that want to connect further, reach out. Scott with Home Perfect SoCal, you can look him up. Kevin and I, of course, are at Anise at firehouseeducation.com. And I know several of us are communicated or connected. Chris Jetter, you and I are, as well as Clark. And I'm just really honestly excited to see what this circumstance does to bring this community together in our industry, and see what we're going to come out with innovation to be able to help people in the future combat situations like this and not have to suffer quite so much. So on that note, you all have an amazing evening. Please be safe. And hopefully this will all end very quickly for us as far as the quarantine, and we'll all stay connected as a community and hopefully be able to see each other at an industry event, maybe hopefully soon. All right, take care, y'all.